some citations of these, some citations of the thinkers. For example, Yuri Chernomorets describes Russia's war against Ukraine as a confrontation between evil and good. It is necessary to tell that this author is not only a philosopher, but also a theologian, and he applies the ideas of Christian theology to his consideration of this issue. Yuri Chernomorets thinks that it is possible to tell that Russia in this war is on the side of evil, and Ukraine in this war is in the side of goodness, the side of good. Of course, he describes this battle as eternal battle between forces of good and evil, and he thinks that it is possible to wait for our victory in this stage of this eternal battle. As for another thinker, Miroslav Marinovich, he writes that the abstract evil against which we are fighting is personified in the Russian Federation today. Again, we see the idea that there is some eternal battle between evil and good, and our Ukrainian fighting against Russia is some period, some stage in this eternal battle, and evil is personified in the figure of Putin and his troops. Another thinker, Burmeister, also offers similar ideas. He writes, today we were reminded that evil is a part of reality and an ineradicable element of our lives. We receive a certain shock when we see evil face to face. War has not gone anywhere. Evil has not disappeared from history. Today's Russia is one of the hypostases of evil. Russia is now the brightest and most obvious, albeit not the only one of these hypostases. So the same way of thinking, metaphysical way of thinking, evil as a part of reality, ineradicable element of this reality in our lives, and so on. And Russia as a personification of this evil. As for second feature, I want to illustrate this feature by the words of Miroslav Marinovich. I want to remind you that second feature is statements that not only acts of people, but also people themselves are evil. It is not usual way of thinking, but it is something usual for contemporary, for current Ukrainian thought on this question. Miroslav Marinovich writes, evil in this case encompasses the leaders of the Russian state, the Russian Federation, Russia as a state, as a country, as a people, because unfortunately the Russian people mostly support this one. So this brief literature review can provide you with some basics about Ukrainian views on this question. But I think that it is necessary to check these ideas, and I want to do it in analytical way. I think that, of course, it is difficult, controversial question of evil. It is difficult to cope with such such a scale of problems, metaphysical scale. But I think that analytic tools will help us to clear up these problematics, to understand these problematics in maybe more more rational, more logical words. I think that metaphysical way of thinking has own benefits, but it will be good to add some analytical ideas to them. Of course, it is necessary to emphasize some notice, some methodological, terminological notice before my words, my further words. When I use such words as Ukrainians, the people of Ukraine, or Russians and the people of Russia, I will mean citizens of these states. That is, I will refer not to the ethnic, but rather political dimension of those words. It is important. Of course, you know that Russians are among Ukrainian citizens, and many of them now are soldiers who are part of our defenders, and it is necessary to differentiate ethnic dimension and political dimension. I will mean only political dimension of this term, the people of Russia and Russians. Well, of course, analytical approach stimulates us to understand the essence of term we use. So, what is evil? Of course, it is necessary to begin with this issue. What is evil? For example, such famous researchers of ethical problematics as Formosa or Claudia Cart provide us with the following descriptions. Evil is a life-wrecking or ending harm. Evils tend to ruin lives or significant parts of lives. So, evil is related to a life-wrecking or ending harm. Of course, not every bad act or bad thing is evil. It is necessary to emphasize that evil is a very strong word. Evil is a word for special states, for special acts. Not every bad act is evil act. I think that words of Claudia Cart as that evil tends to ruin lives is very good, very good characterization. I will use these words in my further research. So I think that the ruination of lives is one of important features of evil. If we talk about ruination of life, it is possible to pose a question. Is it possible to tell that in their war against Ukraine, Russians ruin people's lives? Definitely. I think that it is a solid argument to tell that yes, Russians ruin lives of Ukraine. You see photos from Bakhmut and photos from Kharkiv railway station. Of course, these facts demonstrates very vividly that Russians ruin life in Ukraine. Not only ruination of life as death, but also ruination of life as our ruination of ordinary way of life, our hopes, our feelings. It is necessary to address a very important detail about this question about ruination of life, because it is possible to see ruination of life as a result of natural disasters. Of course, we can see death from, for example, earthquakes. Is it possible to say that there are the same things as death from earthquakes and death from Russian missiles? I think that they are different, very different things. There is some difference between death caused by an earthquake and death caused by militaries who aim missiles and bombs. Stones do not have a choice and will. They do not choose to kill or not to kill people. Russians aim their missiles to kill Ukrainians. I think that it is possible to see this difference. And this conclusion leads to another our statement. I think that it is possible to tell that in this war we see not only evil, but also evildoers. And the ideas of the previous Ukrainian researchers who tell that not only acts of people in this war are evil, but also people who make these acts are also evil. I think that these ideas have some evidences. So I want to state that each act of evil has two sides. The results of evildoers' acts are side B of evil, and evildoers themselves are side A of evil. I think that it is impossible to imagine a situation where we see only side B without side A. I think that the existence of an evildoer is a necessary condition for the appearance of corresponding evil. I think that in the situation of earthquakes and so on, we see not evil. It is a result of forces without will. It is the result of a terrible coincidence. I think that they are disasters, but not evil. Also, it is necessary to think about the following question. Of course, we see in this war people with weapons on both sides. We see that Russian use weapons in this war and Ukrainians use weapons in this war. And we see that Ukrainians kill soldiers and Russians kill Ukrainians. And it is necessary to clear up this question. And I want to address this situation with the help of some following examples. Imagine a situation in which the killer is caught by the police and is imprisoned based on the verdict of a court. Of course, the life of this killer will be ruined by this situation because he will spend some years in prison. Is it possible to say that this ruination of his life is evil? No, it is not evil. Because it is a situation when we see justice. Another situation, imagine a situation in which a man in a dark alley was attacked with a knife by a criminal, but the victim managed to defend himself by killing the attacker. Of course, we see death of this person. It is very ruination of his life. But is it possible to say that it is evil? No, it is not evil because it was self-defense. I think that in the situation in this war, we see evil from Russian side. Why? Because it is necessary. Condition of evil not only lead to the ruination of lives, but also an evil act is a wrongful act. The second feature of evil, wrongfulness. Well, we see that Ukrainians with weapons in their hands are defending their lives, country, and freedom. Russians attacked in order to take other people's lives, country, and freedom. We see just defensive war on one side, and we see unjust war of conquest on another side. So it is possible to sort out these different acts. They have different ethical, moral status. When we talk about Russians as evildoers, it is necessary to emphasize that evil persons need not be bad in every respect or act. Of course, among Russian soldiers are different people, and some of them have some achievements. But it is necessary to understand that evil persons need not be bad in every respect or act. I offer you to think about the following situations. Is it possible that a serial killer has achievements in sport? Yes, it is possible. But these achievements in sports will not refute his status as serial killer. Is it possible that a person uses his courage to be more effective in achieving evil goals? Of course, courage is a positive trait, but if we use this positive, our feature, to achieve bad aims, it will support our status as evil person. So I think that it is possible to see evil person with some positive traits. Of course, evil person, evil doers are not necessarily devils, something like malicious, absolute malicious creatures. No, I will not use these religious definitions. I think that it is possible to see evil person with some positive traits. Then it is necessary to understand that these two conditions, I mean, ruination of life and second condition as wrongful act, wrongfulness of this action is not enough to characterize person as some person as evil. Because a person who accidentally ruined another person's life is not an evildoer. It is possible to imagine a situation in which person accidentally ruins somebody's life. Of course, such person will not be evildoer. Evildoer is aware that his or her wrongful acts are able to cause the ruination of somebody's life. I think that it is a necessary condition. This person needs to understand that he or she do wrongful acts. In this context, it is necessary to differentiate different levels of this awareness. First, the most obvious kind of evildoers, they first plan to ruin the life of another person, and then they put those plans into practice. Putin. Such persons as he planned and he put his plans into life. But it is possible to find other kinds of evildoers. Second kind of evildoers, they do not plan to ruin lives, but they foresee that their acts will ruin the lives of other people. And this understanding does not stop them from performing these acts. Military personnel understand that their weapons will bring death on Ukrainian lands, but they use these weapons. They are evildoers, but not so deep evildoers as Putin. Third kind of evildoers. It is controversial question. I will tell that it will be necessary to consider this kind of evildoers in details in further research. I think that it is necessary to think more about this question. But now I offer the following description. A third kind of evildoers, they are able to foresee that their acts will ruin the lives of other people, but they perform these acts without thinking properly about the consequences of these acts for other people. I think that willful neglect, that willful blindness are kinds of evildoing. But I want to repeat my words that it will be necessary to consider this question more properly. Well, willful blindness. Can we say that the suffering of Ukrainians from Russia's war was perceivable for Russians? I think that it is possible to understand that if you aim your missile to Ukrainian cities, that this missile can ruin buildings and kill people. I think that it is clear. You see this photo from Borodyanka, this photo from Kharkiv. Missiles. I don't know how it is in English. Reshtki missiles, of which struck Kharkiv city. These remains of missiles are on one place. It is terrible. Such large quantity of missiles were struck on this city. Of course, these people who aim these missiles on this peaceful city understood that these missiles can kill people. I want to remind words of Hannah Arendt. She writes about thoughtlessness. Adolf Eichmann was not stupid. It was sheer thoughtlessness, something by no means identical with stupidity, that predisposed him to become one of the greatest criminals of that period. Russians understand, but they practice thoughtlessness about suffering of Ukrainians. On the 14th of January 2023, Russians hit an apartment block in my city, Dnipro, with a large anti-ship missile, the Ha-22. People, child, women, men, civilians. This missile killed 46 civilians, including 6 children, in their bedrooms, in their kitchen. I think that it is understandable that this missile can kill people, but they aim this missile on my city. Of course, thoughtfulness is followed by another phenomenon. First of all, self-deception. They think that think that Ukrainians, not they think, they talk that Ukrainians something like Nazi Satanists, and they talk that it is a good idea to kill Nazi Satanists. But I think that it is self-deception, and they understand that it is self-deception. Self-deception is not a good excuse for committing evil acts. The people of Russia can say as much as they want about not understanding that they do extremely wrongful things in Ukraine, but such arguments are not serious. If many Russians avoid thinking about the truth of the war or ignore evidence of this truth, they are engaged in self-deception. Many Russians tell that their mass media persuades them to kill Ukrainians. In this context, they talk about ignorance. They talk that they don't understand that it is a bad thing to kill Ukrainians. They think that Ukrainians are something terrible. Well, I offer you to imagine a situation where somebody told a person that his neighbors are demons or something of the sort. And therefore, he must go to their house and murder them. Of course, those who incited the murder, evil, Solovyov and so on, evil, of course. But this does not mean that the person who goes to murder the family is not evil. They are also evil. These ordinary people, Russian people, who kill civilians in my city, in other Ukrainian cities. I want to remind some citation from Aristotle, Nicomachean Ethics. Aristotle writes, legislators impose corrective treatments for the ignorance itself, if the agent seems to be responsible for the ignorance. A drunk, for instance, pays a double penalty, for the principle is in him, since he controls whether he gets drunk. He controls whether he gets drunk, and his getting drunk causes his ignorance. And they impose it in other cases likewise for any other ignorance that seems to be caused by the agent's inattention. They assume it is up to him not to be ignorant, since he controls whether he pays attention. So, of course, Russian mass media is a kind of intoxication by wrong ideas and so on. But it is possible to compare it with alcohol and person who uses alcohol and will commit some evil acts are not a good person. Russians are responsible not only for committing evil acts, but also for using this intoxication. They regularly use this source of own intoxication. Then I want to tell you about thoughts of one researcher of the question of evil, Eve Geron. She writes, the evil act is done by one for whom at least some of the considerations that tell against his committing this wrongful act are silenced altogether. The sufferings of his victims, along with other considerations such as their rights, play no part in his practical deliberations. They count for nothing at all. And it is this silencing, this inability to hear the victim's screams as significant that accounts for the peculiar horror that we feel when we contemplate these evil acts and their agents. Russians practice it. Voice of Ukrainians mean nothing for them. For them, it is a kind of silencing. If Gerard thinks that it is good idea to use this silencing as one of the features of evildoers, but I will not use this feature. Why? Because it is very difficult to check. In a mental state of people, it is difficult to check. I prefer to use in my research some things which we can verify. So silencing is a good feature, but not for my research. I offered to use other feature. This feature, it is possible to check this feature. It is easy to check this feature. Regularity. The regularity of evil acts. 460 days, they kill Ukrainians. They bomb our cities. I think that it is enough to understand that it is evil acts. It is difficult to think that doing regular wrongful things is the same as performing wrongful things without the intention to do wrongful. They have intention to kill Ukrainians. They want this. Another question. Oh, maybe it will be necessary to be more short in my commentaries to these slides, because I want to tell you all information from my article. It is necessary to scrutinize the question of inaction. I think, I guess that previous my arguments are enough to tell that acts of doing evil, that we can see acts of doing evil in this war in Ukraine. But I want to proceed to more complicated question. What about inaction? Is it possible to say that inaction can be evil? The ruination of lives can be not only the result of action, but also of inaction. Not in every situation, but we sometimes see that refraining from acting could itself be an evil act. Imagine first a situation where the crew of a large ship sees drowning people in the sea, who are holding on with their last strength to planks left after the shipwreck of their yacht. Will it be evil if this crew does not help and leave these shipwreck sufferers to drown among the waves? Yes, it will be evil. It will be evil. In the law, we have such term as the duty of rescue. It is necessary to help people in such situations. Imagine second situation, the shipwreck of the yacht is related to the large ship. In fact, the large ship's helmsman and his assistant do not like yachts, and they deliberately steered the vessel towards one of them to crush it. Another situation. Would it be evil if the ship's crew did nothing and let their helmsman, Putin, and his assistant continue to crush all of the yachts that their ship meets on the way? Russian people allow it. Well, we see two scenarios with yachts, with these two yachts. In first scenario, we see A and B. A, sufferers in danger. B, a group of people who are potentially able to save people from death. Two groups of people. In second scenario, we see more complicated situation. Three groups. First group, victims of an evil act. Then a group of people who are evildoers in being the cause of the suffering of these victims. And C, a crew that includes B. In scenario one, if B, group of people who are potentially able to save people from death, if they shows inaction and does not safe A suffers in danger, then they will become evildoers. If then, but in the second scenario, all people from set C, crew that includes evildoers, hellsmen, and so on, all people from the set C of the second case will become evildoers too if they practice inaction in two aspects. If they do not save A and if they do not stop B. So in our situation, in situation of the Russia's war against Ukraine, we see scenario two. We see the situation when crew of this large ship must do something to stop their leaders. Not all people of Russia did evil to Ukrainians in this war, but those Russians who do nothing to stop their Russian evildoers, they become the accomplices of the evildoers. I think that it will be wrong to say that all Russians are evildoers. No, I don't think so. But those Russians who do nothing to stop their Russian evildoers, they are evil. I want to imagine another situation. This situation is similar to scenario 2, but more close to Russia's war against Ukraine. Thought experiment, deadly old bus case. Imagine 14 people. In Russian, we have 140 million of people. Imagine 14 people who have inherited an old bus. These people are pretty different from each other, but they elected a leader and assigned him to be the driver. At first, the driver drove the bus like other drivers, but then he began to crush people on the pavement, justifying this by making the claims that they were suspicious and threatening the bus. Some of the deadly bus passengers began to support what was happening with joyful cries, saying that it was high time to use just such a driving style, while some others fell silent and just watched from the windows as their bus crushed more and more people, doing nothing to stop the bus. I think that this situation will be good for the description of Russia's war against Ukraine. We see republic. Russian voters are not slaves, they're citizens. They all are owners of this deadly old bus. They elected their leader, Putin, and their deputies, all deputies. And we see two styles of their behavior. Some Russians support Putin's efforts to destroy Ukraine. Some do nothing. Of course, we have some people from the Russian people who try to do something to stop this war. I think that these people do good things. I will not say about them. I think that these people who try to stop war do right acts. But I will tell about people who do nothing. Of course, I want to understand their behavior. And I want to address 4 arguments in favor of their behavior. I want to address these arguments to destroy them, these arguments. So first argument in favor of these silent people. The passengers of this bus do not understand what is happening. It is first argument in favor of their behavior. My counter argument will be following. A year of killings every day is more than sufficient for Russians to understand what is really happening. I think that it is enough to understand. This argument is not solid. Second argument, the inactive Russians are not really somebody like passengers, but rather hostages of terrorist driver. Some Russian politicians, opposite politicians, tell the same words, but I have two counter-arguments. First, hostages do not usually elect terrorists, but Putin was repeatedly elected by a majority of the Russian voters. Second, the hostages cannot get away from the terrorists when they want, but the Russians can. Russia did not close their borders, and 1 million out of 140 million people of the population of Russia have really gotten out of the country since the 24th February. Third argument, the passengers of the bus are not obligated to care about people on the pavement. So their inaction to save the lives of the people outside the bus is not evil. Interesting argument, but I have counter-arguments. First, the perpetrator should help people who are in danger, not only if he is obliged by law to take care of the safety of the victims, but also when the danger for the victim was created by the perpetrator himself. Of course, Russians do not have such law to care about Ukrainians. But if they do evil to us, their country do evil to us, they as citizens are obliged to think about it and to stop their leader. In Russia, people are citizens, so they have responsibility for their state. Also, they elected their president and deputies, so they share responsibility for their acts. B, second point, my counter-argument. Passengers of the bus need to understand that if they do nothing to stop their deadly bus, the people outside of it will have the right to demolish their bus. Ukrainians don't want to destroy Russian buildings. We want to use our weapons toward Russians, but Russia is danger for all the world. And Russians need to remember history about the destiny of Hitler and Germany, destiny of Germany. I think that it is sufficient to do something to stop acts of their crazy leader. The fourth argument. The fourth argument is the following. The number of those who would want to do something to stop the war is so small that they are not able to get what they want. I think that it is a good argument. I think that it is, maybe it is truth. Suppose that out of 14 passengers of the deadly bus, only 1 or 2 are willing to try to do something to stop the death caused by it. It will be really difficult for this number of people to do right acts, and they may refrain from acting because they realize that they have almost a chance to success. I think that it is close to truth. But if it is truth, we can infer some conclusions from these truths. 5 conclusions. First, The vast majority of Russian people either support the killings of Ukrainians or are indifferent to the fact that their country kills Ukrainians. If the people who want to stop this war is minority, then majority want this war. Second conclusion, the position of active support of the killings of Ukrainians is evildoing. Yeah, the majority of Russians who support this war, they share responsibility as evildoers. Third conclusion, the position of passive support of the killing of Ukrainians is evil inaction. Fourth, the position of being indifferent to the killing of Ukrainians is either a kind of evil inaction, kind 3, thoughtfulness, or not. It is a controversial issue, and it needs further research. And fifth, if really only a few of the people of Russia are against the war, then their inaction is not evildoing, because the opportunities to achieve success are really limited. As for inaction as evil, it is necessary to provide one additional feature to this list. Of course, results of this inaction will be the ruination of lives of people as acts, as evil. Second, these results could be either planned or foreseen by the evil person, or this person could practice willful blindness about the consequences of his inaction. Yes, but third, special for inaction as evil, such person needs to have the possibility of acting in the right way, but choose to neglect this possibility. If they do not have possibility to help Ukrainians to stop this war, then they are not evildoers. Inna, please tell me, do I have 5 minutes extra?
Yes, you have, because we devoted 5 or 6 minutes to introduction. Just now you have your.
Thank you. I want to finish my speech, and I need 5 minutes. I think it will be enough. So, an evil act. I have a list of these features. First, leads to the ruination of lives. Ruination for R. Is a wrongful act, wrongful for W. Is either planned or foreseen or the result of willful blindness about its consequences. A. Awareness as A. I offer to address it in the following way, as formula. If S, subject, makes E evil, then subject and evil have features: ruination of lives, wrongfulness, and awareness. As you can see from the left-right direction, features R, W, A are each necessary for making an evil act. Also, you can see from the right to left direction in the second statement that features ruination of life, wrongfulness, and awareness are together sufficient for making an evil act. These features are necessary and sufficient. As for some difficult aspects of this question, if we talk about people as evil, it is necessary to understand that we have people with different level of evilness. Of course, it is impossible to think that Putin and ordinary person from Russia are equal. No, they are not equal. it is necessary to use the criterion of significance. We call evil just those people whose role in this or that act of ruination of lives was significant. I think that it is necessary to differentiate by this criterion evildoers. Then I want to summarize this information by the following scheme. It is a scheme of modes of evil. I think that evil in the Russia's war against Ukraine exists in three modes: factual evil, active evil, and passive evil. What about factual evil? The murder of innocent people, violence against innocent people, and other wrongful acts that ruin lives. Active evil. Factual evil exists because acts of active evil and inaction of passive evil. As for active evil, there are those who are first the source and second implementers of evil. Source of evil, Putin and Russian politicians. Implementers of evil, military personnel. People who actively support those who ruin lives are also active evil. They are third accomplices of evildoers. People who try to give money for Russian killers, to provide them with drones and so on. They are accomplices of evildoers in this scheme. Then passive evil. These people are able to prevent this or that wrongful ruination of lives, are able, only those who are able to prevent this or that wrongful ruination of lives, but through their inaction, they allow that ruination to happen, which is passive evil. Well, the end of my speech was very short. It will be necessary to think about timing, but I want to show you the last slide of my presentation. I want to tell about the main ideas from this speech. First, I think that we have following three conditions that are separately necessary and jointly sufficient for the characterization of something or somebody as evil. The phenomenon needs to be the result or the source of, first, wrongful acts of action or inaction. That, second, leads to the ruination of lives of other people. And third, are either planned or foreseen or being the results of willful blindness about consequences of the acts. Then the research gives arguments in favor of the thesis that many acts of a significant part of the people of contemporary Russia show the above-mentioned features. Moreover, it is argued that the evil doing is also characterized by regularity. Then it is argued that evil in Russia's war against Ukraine exists in the following three modes: the factual evil, I mean acts of ruining lives; the active evil, initiators and implementers of ruining lives and those who actively support them; and the passive evil, those who do nothing to stop the acts that are ruining lives. Well, thank you for your attention, and I want to tell that it is a difficult topic, and of course it is necessary to scrutinize it, to provide it with further research. It is only first step for me, first step to understand these matters. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alexander, for your brilliant, inspired and provocative presentation. I suppose we will have a fruitful discussion about. Who would like to start from the notes, questions? Yaroslav, please. Microphone, please.
Thank you, Alexander, for a very interesting talk, and indeed very inspiring. So my question is rather general. I mean, so you propose three conditions. The first condition for defining an evil or the evil, that evil leads to ruination of life. So it's explicitly teleological condition, consequentialist type or feature. Yeah. And the second condition, that it is a wrongful act, it seems to be deontological. So if we take the notion of wrongness or wrong as primary, and then define that through the initial notion of wrongful act. So is it your intention? So it seems that your conception is a kind of combination of teleological ethics and deontological ethics. So it is your intention to provide a kind of synthetic conception, or maybe it's a kind of eclecticism. You know, because is it actually possible to combine in one conception teleological conditions and deontological conditions? You know?
Well, thank you for your question. Yes, you are entirely right in your characterization. Of course, we see in my scheme we see fragments of different approaches in ethics, and I think that it is possible to combine them. It is a very difficult topic. And I think that different approaches, both deontological ethics and teleological ethics, will be fruitful in their combination to address this difficult question. Moreover, I think that my scheme will be helpful as addition to metaphysical sorts of other Ukrainian researchers. I think that it is our common task to elaborate some system of understanding how to cope with these problematics. I think that different approaches, it is possible to take benefits from different approaches to go in the essence of these problematics. Of course, I understand that it is difficult from the methodological purpose, but maybe methodological pluralism of the post-positivistic position from the second part of the 20th century will be fruitful in this context. Thank you for your question.
Thank you.
Thank you. Christoph, Professor Christoph Lummer, please.
Okay, thank you. Do you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. No, thank you very much for your brilliant talk, and I enjoyed also your first beginning, the differentiation between the two kinds of evil. So I think this is only a problem of the English language, though, that we have two meanings of the same words. And of course, you spoke of the moral evil. And I'm also very grateful to your differentiation of the various conditions of this kind of evil. I would like to add some differentiations. I think you were a bit too fast in attributing the evil to nearly, as I understood it, the whole Russian people. And apart from those who really do active counter actions against Putin. So I think there should be three conditions which you should consider a bit more, I would suggest, but so this is only my opinion, of course. First, people should know more. You brought into the picture here that quotation from Aristotle's Nicomachean Ethics. And so if people get drunk, they usually decide on this. Usually this is not the case when people are not knowing. They don't decide not to know or to ignore. They usually are ignorant, and they don't have the, let's say, the upbringing or the education, an epistemical or epistemological education to inform themselves and so on. So many of them, I think, are really genuine. So I don't want to quantify that. I cannot say it, but that at least there is the possibility that some of them fall under this category. Second thing is you cannot ask action if people don't have the possibilities or if they don't know them. Many people simply don't imagine what they could do. And this could be some, let's say, condition which would fail or which make fail to attribute them to being to acting in an evil way. And I think the third thing is that for requiring to act, it is also required, for being able to require that, it is also required that it must not cost too much to the individual. I think that is a kind of existentialistic philosophy, which then requires, as for instance does Jaspers, to require from everybody to risk the life and even to sacrifice oneself. I think that for a secular ethics goes a bit far. So I think there are these, at least these three conditions which could a bit, let's say, weaken your strong thesis about the evil among the Russian population. So this is not, let's say, a quantifying answer to what you said. It's only an invitation to take these three further conditions into consideration when adjudicating the evilness to many Russian people. Yeah? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your words. I think that it is really controversial questions, and it is possible to say more in favor of Russians in this situation than I said, but I have I try to be objective. I try to be rational in rigid way, but it is necessary to understand that I'm Ukrainian, and in this situation it is very difficult for me to be objective towards Russians, because I and my family and me suffered from this situation. But I think that it is necessary to understand that it is possible to have different views on this question. Ukrainian view is one of the possible. We have this view, and it is our view. But of course, I don't tell that it is only correct view on this problematic. But I think that it will be useful to try to understand our arguments in this situation. But of course, I agree with your words about necessary to maybe empathy, to understand real motivations of Russian people. It is necessary task. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Katerina, microphone, please.
Thank you so much for your extremely topical and interesting and argumentative report. Yes, it was really necessary for this time. I appreciate very much. And I would like to continue a question and remarks which was represented by Professor Shamko. Really, for me, it was very interesting and very difficult to follow you in your argumentation. Analytical philosophy is very important and necessary today. We need to respect it. But at the same time, it is very difficult to lose this line. Yes, you represented two lines, theological and deontological, yes. And as a result, when I lost some lines, I decided that phenomenological aspects are also important. And now, when you emphasize that you are Ukrainian, your family Ukrainians, to say about Russian people, but we have a problem, phenomenological problem, that a lot of Ukrainians are among Russian representatives who support this war. And in this situation, I have only one image, one conclusion, exit for me to follow Schopenhauer with the idea of world wheel, which represents evil in this. And we maybe, if small group of people couldn't change the situation. And on the other hand, there are another situations, but we understood on the basis of analytical philosophy these aspects, and we, as a result, we need to recognize the role of huge, great inaction in the situation and help. Maybe these will help to open the eyes for people who are in Russia. Maybe when the evil will be obvious, we will not try to do. It is one aspect, but another aspect in this situation. You started from the Russians as ethnical or political entity. In this situation, also there is contradiction, because if you emphasize that now this is political, maybe idea is the basical for this unity, but for example, yesterday I had the political commentator Bortnikov. He emphasized that it is not a political question. This is ethnical questions. This is Russian people are responsible for this situation, even not only Putin. Putin is a result of Russian tradition, Russian philosophy, Russian, this is. It means that we have got open questions, the open questions. We need to decide, is it, this is political or ethnical problem? Who is the active subject of this process? People or Putin's some maybe stupid idea, or he is a result of this tendency. Yes, okay. It means that is it phenomenological evil in Russia? And we need to disclose, and after this try to think of and to do something.
Thank you. I think that your words about phenomenological plane in this research is very, very, very useful, as well as Yaroslav Shramko tells about teleological, and another feature. I mean deontological. All these three levels, teleological, deontological, and phenomenological, is really important. Thank you for your words. I want to tell more about the definition of nation.
Mm-hmm.
In this situation, I think that position of Yaroslav Kulyk is good. He distinguished between two archetypes of nation. First, from Greece, ethnic model, and second, from ancient Rome as political model. I think that in 1991, in the referendum, we see that Ukrainian nation chose a political model, because for Ukrainian independence voted not only ethnic Ukrainians, 75% of population, not only Ukrainophone person, 63% of the population of Ukraine, but 91% of population, 91. So I think that not only ethnic Ukrainians or not only Ukrainophone people are Ukrainian nation. I think that all people who share respect for Ukrainian culture, who share values of Ukrainian people, I think freedom, first of all, then who share our understanding that our future is connected with democratical way, independent way of development, and who share our view that our future is connected with free nations of the West, which is our civilizational choice of Ukrainian people. So I think that it is possible to interpret Ukrainian people as political category, as political model of nation. As for Russian people, I think that it is impossible to interpret Russian people as ethnic category, because we see different peoples in the context of Russian Federation, but I agree with you that it will be very fruitful to try to understand roots of Putinism, Russism, and so on. And I think that culture is very important in this context. It is necessary to understand. You see this paradigm as post-colonialism. I think that imperial component of Russian culture is very dangerous, and it is necessary to struggle against this component of Russian culture, and maybe it will be a very important task for thinkers, not only from Ukraine but from other cultures, other countries also, to understand what is the problem of Russian people. I think that this problem lies in colonial segment, imperialistic segment of Russian culture. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Who else would like to add comments? Irena Skripak, Ukraine, Luxembourg.
I would like to express my gratitude for this report to the speaker, to Professor Olexandr Kulyk. And at first, I would like to start with the commentary, because when I came to Luxembourg 1 year ago, 1 week later, I participated the public forum in Luxembourg University, which was launched by law faculty and was dedicated to war in Ukraine. And scientists were concerned about how to recognize these acts of Russian president, this challenge for the civilized world. So how to deal with this for all of us, for all humanity. And they were very careful with the definition. They were trying to lead this in law field. So I just took the word and I told them, I'm sorry, I'm Ukrainian. So I was close to you in this. It was something personal. We cannot be so abstract analyzing something and cannot emphasize to this. And in your report, it was a lot of touchful things to show, to express. It's from humanistic values, not only analytical way. So I told, I'm sorry, but you are just were speaking about Putin and his crimes, but who is doing these crimes? It's not by putting hands in Bucha, in many cities of Ukraine. There are another people, they are doing with their inner justice. So it's not Putin personally. And I remind them the words of Hannah Arendt, who told of banality of evil. And this is more about people ignorance. This is more about their, I would say, it's a lack of distinguish of evil and good. It's a lack of their willpower to resist. It's just real crime. And they would like to, I would like to tell you, Russian people, Russian citizens are also responsible for all these crimes. And fortunately, the head of Institute of Political Science, the Mr. Josip Glordik, he supported me and he told, yes, I totally agree. We should recognize it's not only personal crime by the president, and who can be considered as a terrorist, as a mad person, and it would be for the future, the next step for fair justice, for judgment for him. But that's only the blame of Russians. Like Karl Jaspers told, it's also the precedent to analyze this public as okay, slaves of spirit, if it exists, this expression, because they don't have a willpower, courageous spirit to resist and to say no to the crimes. So it's so important. And probably they will have, I hope, they will have some challenges for ethics education in Russia, also to sanitarizing this society. And also, I would like to recommend you have a look to the science work of my assistant professor, Nazib Hamidov, who is also a philosopher. And he wrote the book, David Against of Goliath, also as an example of this war, Ukraine and Russia, good and evil. And he recognized this phenomenon like neo-totalitarian system, which one of which you can qualify with a society of post-truth, and also it's the phenomenon of media, propaganda, fakes, hypes, and all this, unfortunately, postmodernic things we are living with. So I hope, I wish you to continue your study, and I hope we will have more support and deep empathizing, understanding about what is happening now in Ukraine, and only together we can overcome this problem of evil in postmodern world. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Svetlana, microphone, please. Microphone, we don't listen you. Yes, you will try to just, let's see. Don't listen you, please. We don't listen you. Maybe you can write your comments or questions in the chat, and maybe you will change something in your technical equipment. And please, I would like to ask you to take attention to your conclusion about 3 modes of evil: factual, active, and passive. Is it possible, on your point of view, to add such named potential evil? Because its understanding of this possibility is extremely important for discussion about temporary peace condition now. Maybe we have to stop war, or to, because it can to decrease the level of victims. But what we have to think about potential evil?
Thank you. I think that it will be interesting to address this situation. Of course, it will stimulate teleological aspect of this research, but it will be really fruitful. Thank you. I think that it will improve this consideration. Potential evil. I think that the world is concerning to prevent potential evil, not only from Russia. I think that this war is a good sign that we have evil in our world, and it is necessary to do something to prevent, not only to defend themselves, but also to prevent themselves from future evil. Thank you.
Thank you. But it's a question not only thinking about future, but it's necessary to maybe to think how to act before some events. Yeah, understand. Thank you so much. Justas, please, microphone and your question.
Yes. Thank you so much for a very interesting presentation. I just had a very quick question and a comment. I wanted to pick up on your concept of post-positivism and mixed methodology. I think your presentation was a very interesting example of a mixed methodology in use. And I wanted to go back to the moment in your presentation when you were speaking about your second condition, which is the ruination of lives. And, you know, if you wanted to provide a definition of the concept of ruination, it would be difficult. We would have to spend almost 5 hours discussing all the different aspects of ruination and all the different rational elements, ideology, history, duration, quantity, and so on. But instead of doing that, you provided a set of images. And you said, well, you know, I think these images very clearly convey that lives have been ruined in Ukraine. I think that's a very effective strategy. And I think it's a very good example of a mixed methodological use. And it sort of seems to suggest that even when we're presenting things in an analytical manner, there's room for intuitive thinking, or there's room for intuition. At the same time, we know that since Immanuel Kant and all the rationalism and post-rationalist philosophy, the notion of intuition in logical or rational argument has been treated with suspicion, because it's considered to be open to the possibility of both ideological manipulation and that it might lead very easily to fanaticism and dogmatism. And in some ways, we see how easily populations can be manipulated with images through television and so on and so forth. So my question would be, how can we use intuitive thinking and images in our mixed methodologies responsibly without falling into all the traps of fanaticism and so on, to which intuitive thinking opens us up?
Thank you for your question. I think that intuition is very close to methodology of analytic philosophy, because analytic philosophers philosophers use thought experiments, and thought experiments includes intuition as the method to understand fruits of different scenarios. And of course, it is necessary to understand, possible possibilities to verify intuition. In analytical philosophy, we see two main ideas about it. First idea is that it is necessary to use views of ordinary language, ordinary people. Ordinary people have a correct approach to understand truth. This first approach, and second approach, that it is necessary to use opinions of experts as groups of discussing different thoughts experiments. I think that second approach is more fruitful than first. And today's discussion, our discussion, is an example that it is really fruitful to listen to different experts in the field of philosophy from different traditions of philosophy, not only Ukrainian, but from other countries. I think that experts can verify intuitions of a researcher. I think that, of course, I have some ideas, some intuition, but it is necessary to check them in the process of discussing them with specialists in this field. For example, I am very grateful for all participants of our seminar to hear some ideas how it is possible to improve some details, how to consider them in different planes. I think that opinion of experts is a good way to check intuitions.
But your use of images, if I may follow up very quickly, was neither an analysis of everyday speech, nor the use of abstract analytic examples, nor really the use of experts. I think the point I was trying to make is that, I mean, I agree with everything you said, expert verification is very important, but images have their own grammar that do not exactly follow necessarily the same grammar as language philosophy from Wittgenstein to anybody. And the inclusion of images of war, which are very impactful images, into analytic thinking almost seems to lend another dimension to analytic thought. And I simply wanted to point that out and wonder if you had any, because it's almost an emotional component. And you mentioned the emotional component in your responses, and I think other speakers like Irina mentioned it as well. It seems to be very important in conditions of war. But how does that sort of relate to the analytic perspective, which is always a little bit, at least from my experience, analytic philosophers do seem to be suspicious of emotion-based references?
I think that it is necessary to clear up some specifics of Ukrainian philosophy of this time. We are not only, it is the talk about not only philosophy, but about the role of philosophers in society. Many Ukrainian philosophers think that they have some duty in this situation to talk foreigners about truth about Ukraine. First of all, it is important for me. I provided my presentation with these images of destroyed houses and so on, apartment blocks, because I think that it is also one chance to talk about truth in my country to foreigners. Sorry for this personal component, but we are not only persons, we also citizens. And as Ukrainian, I think that it is necessary to use different opportunities to talk about truth in my country. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Anybody else?
Question, maybe in this context you told about this now. Can we claim that there is an aspect of internal evil in this situation? For example, about the situation before the war, we didn't believe, or we didn't want to believe that a new stage of war could be. Is it also evil that we didn't recognize, didn't want, couldn't, or is it some kind of evil also?
No, I don't think that it was evil. It is difficult. It is necessary to use model logic to think about such things. But I think that evil is about other aspects. It is not evil. No, 1 minute. If we are not perfect, it is not evil. We are not perfect. We are people. We ordinary people. And I think that perfectness is not a necessary condition for humankind. Of course, it was possible to think more, to do some prognostic things better, but it is very difficult. I think that we can use term evil only for present time or for future time in this context, in the context of Russia's war. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I am responsible for the timing, you know, and I not would like, but I need to talk to tell you that we are working near 2 o'clock now, and maybe we have to not to stop, but to do some short break in this talking, and my desire to continue our ongoing permanent seminar with new topic, new dialogue, and continuation of the inspired dialogue about evil. Maybe some comments, last comment and last thought and last. Thank you very much.
I want to tell.
Yeah.
I'm very grateful to you, Professor Inna Glubovich, for the opportunity to talk with you, to share my thoughts with such auditory. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Alexander. Maybe I know you very well at the time of our communication in the Dnipro University, and I didn't expect such kind of analytical discussion about this topic. We will continue, and I suppose if it's possible, you will send us some presentation, text of presentation, if maybe it's repeat your article or not. You know, it's our maybe tradition that we will send text of presentation for more deep understanding, for discussion, and the participants of seminar will have a possibility to ask you new questions and to open new debate, and maybe some counter arguments will be more strong and more powerful. Irena, I follow for your desire to tell something. No?
I was just applaud to the speaker. It was my sign to applaud everyone, everyone who participate, and to the speaker, and for you as an organizer. Thank you all.
And show must go on, and I'm happy that participants of our seminar today present different, not only different countries, but continents. From the other shore, Margaret, and Great Britain, and European countries, and not only European. Please, we will talk about, because it's very important, very interesting, and very fruitful for development of contemporary Ukrainian philosophy, especially. Ukrainian philosophy, as a therapy, and especially important point for me as a kind of expertise of events, process, and our future. Thank you so much. Have a nice evening, and I will write you soon. I have just now, I will try to save a record of our presentation today. Maybe I will need some technical support in our future, at the time of our future meeting. But just now, I will try to have traces of our brilliant debate. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.